Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also giving our full Dandavat Pranams to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this very wonderful commentary and translation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, following the instruction of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, we are praying to Srimati Radharani. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati told us that if we cannot understand Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam, then our study has been for waste. Yadhi seva vanchitasyama yasya kripaya vayam labema sarvam prapnuma prayojanam damni Shri Bhagavat pade Krishna sambandhi sarvam cha yadi na jani mahetutam Astadashasu sahasreshu shlokanam bhagavat oktishu radharanimna vindamam tada nishvalam bhagavat adhyayanam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva parishrama. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Radharani within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Srimati Radharani, all our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing from Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, text 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Purañjana. Text 1. Maitreya uvacha iti sandisya bhagavan Barhishardhar abhipujita pasyatam rajaputranam tatraivantar dadhehara. The great sage Maitreya continued speaking to Vidura. My dear Vidura, in this way Lord Shiva instructed the sons of King Barhisat. The sons of the king also worshipped Lord Shiva with great devotion and respect. Finally, Lord Shiva became invisible to the princes. Purport. This chapter contains a great lesson concerning the monarchical kingdom in the days of yore. When King Barhisat was considering retiring from the royal duties, he sent his sons to perform austerities in order to become perfect kings for the welfare of the citizens. At that stage, King Barhisat was being instructed by the great sage Narada about the material world and the living entity who wants to enjoy it. It is therefore very clear how the kings and princes were trained to take charge of a kingdom. Welfare activities for the benefit of the citizens were aimed at understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The human form of life is especially meant for our understanding God, our relationship with Him, and our activities in His service. Because the kings took charge of the spiritual education of the citizens, both the king and the citizens were happy in Krishna consciousness. In this regard, we should remember that the monarchical hierarchy of Prachana Barhisat comes from Maharaj Dhruva, a great devotee of the Lord, and the most celebrated disciple of Narada Muni. King Prachana Barhisat was then too much engaged in fruitive activities due to performing different types of yagyas. One can actually be promoted to higher planetary systems or to the heavenly kingdoms by performing various yajnas, but there is no question of liberation or going back home, back to Godhead. When the great sage Narada saw that a descendant of Maharaj Dhruva was being misled by fruitive activities, Narada took compassion upon him personally, came to instruct him about the ultimate benediction of life. Bhakti Yoga. How Narada Muni indirectly introduced the Bhakti Yoga system to King Prachinabarhisat is very interestingly described in this 25th chapter. Text 2. Rudragitam Bhagavata Strotram Sarve Prachetasa Japantaste Tapaste Pur Varshanam Ayutam Jale. All the Pracheta princes simply stood in the water for 10,000 years and recited the prayers given to them by Lord Shiva. Purport. Of course, in the modern age, one may be amazed how the princes could stand in the water for 10,000 years. However, living within the air or living within the water is the same process. One simply has to learn how to do it. The aquatics live within the water for their whole lifespan. Certain favorable conditions are created to enable them to live within water. In those days, however, people used to live for 100,000 years. Out of so many years, if one could spare 10,000 years for the sake of austerity, he would be assured of his success in his future life. This was not very astonishing. Although such a feat is impossible in this age, it was quite possible in Satya Yuga. Text 3. Prachina barhi samchata karmasvashkta manasam Narada Jatama Tatvagyan Kripalu Pratya Bodhayat. While the princes were undergoing severe austerities in the water, their father was performing different types of fruitive activities. At this time, the great Saint Narada, master and teacher of all spiritual life, became very compassionate upon the king and decided to instruct him about spiritual life. Purport. As pointed out by Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur, a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya, Kaivalya, or merging into the Brahman effulgence, is just like going to hell. He similarly states that elevation to the upper planetary systems for the enjoyment of heavenly life is just so much phantasmagoria. This means that a devotee does not give any importance to the ultimate goal of the karmis and jnanis. The ultimate goal of the karmis is promotion to the heavenly kingdom, and the ultimate goal of the jnanis is merging into the Brahman effulgence. Of course, the jnanis are superior to the karmis, as confirmed by Lord Chaitanya. Koti karmanista madhye eka jnani shrestha. One jnani or impersonalist is better than many thousands of fruitive actors. Therefore, a devotee never enters upon the path of karma, or elevation by fruitive activities. Narada Muni took compassion upon King Prachinabarhisat when he saw the king engaged in fruitive activity. In comparison to mundane workers, those who are trying to be elevated to the higher planetary systems by performing yajnas are undoubtedly superior. In pure devotional service, however, both karma and jnana are considered bewildering features of the illusory energy. Text 4. Shreyastvam katamadrajan karmanatmana ihase dukkahani shukhapriti shreyasthaneha chesyate. Narada Muni asking King Prachinabarhisat, "My dear king, what do you desire to achieve by performing these fruitive activities? The chief aim of life is to get rid of all miseries and enjoy happiness, but these two things cannot be realized by fruitive activity." In this material, this is the purport now by Srila Prabhupada. In this material world, there is a great illusion which covers real intelligence. A man in the mode of passion wants to work very hard to derive some benefit, but he does not know that time will never allow him to enjoy anything permanently. Compared with the work one expends, the gain is not so profitable. Even if it is profitable, it is not without its distresses. If a man is not born rich and he wants to purchase a home, cars, and other material things, he has to work hard day and night for many years in order to possess them. Thus, happiness is not attained without undergoing some distress. Actually, pure happiness cannot be had within this material world. If we wish to enjoy something, we must suffer for something else. On the whole, suffering is the nature of this material world, and whatever enjoyment we are trying to achieve is simply illusion. After all, we have to suffer the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. We may discover many fine medicines, but it is not possible to stop the sufferings of disease or death. Actually, medicine is not the counteracting agent for either disease or death. On the whole, there is no happiness in this material world, but an illusion person works very hard for so-called happiness. Indeed, this process of working hard is actually taken for happiness. This is called illusion. Therefore, Narada Muni asked King Prachanabarhisat what he desired to attain by performing so many costly sacrifices. Even if one attains a heavenly planet, he cannot avoid the distresses of birth, old age, disease, and death. Someone may argue that even devotees have to undergo many distresses in executing austerities and penances connecting with devotional service. Of course, for the neophytes, the routine of devotional service may be very painful, but at least they have the hope that they will ultimately be able to avoid all kinds of distresses and achieve the highest perfectional stage of happiness. For the common karmis, there is no such hope because even if they are promoted to the higher planetary systems, they are not guaranteed. They are not guaranteed freedom from the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease. Even Lord Brahma, who is situated in the highest planetary system, Brahmaloka, has to die. Lord Brahma's birth and death may be different from an ordinary man's, but within this material world he cannot avoid the distresses of birth, old age, disease, and death. If one is at all serious about attaining liberation from these miseries, he must take to devotional service. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. Jnana karma chame divyam, janma karma chame divyam, evam yoveti tatvata, chaktva deham punarjanma, naiti mam eti sarjana. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but rather retains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. Thus, after attaining full Krishna consciousness, the devotee does not return to this material world after death. He goes back home, back to Godhead. That is the perfect stage of happiness, unblemished by any trace of distress. And also, Didi, I noticed in this verse, the word Shreyas, like we were talking about, Shreyas is there. It says, Shreyas tvam katamad rajan. And then at the end it says, Shreyas tan neha chesyate. And Srila Prabhupada translates Shreya as ultimate benediction. But it also means like the plane of dedication, like what Srila Sridhara Maharaja would say. Anyhow, it's funny. It's nice that the word is here in this verse. Okay, text 5. Rajovacha na jannami mahabhaga param karma pavidhidi bruhi me vimalam jnanam yena muchcheya karma vi. The king replied, O great soul, Narada, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Therefore, I do not know the ultimate goal of life. Kindly instruct me in pure knowledge so that I can get out of the entanglement of fruitive activities. Purport. Sri Narottam Das Thakur has sung, Sat Sanga Chadhi Kainu Asate Vilasa, Te Karne Lagila Ye Karma Bandha Pansa. As long as a person is entangled in fruitive activities, he is bound to accept one body after another. This is called karma bandha pansa, entanglement in fruitive activities. It does not matter whether one is engaged in pious or impious activities, or for both are causes of further entanglement in material bodies. By pious activities, one can take birth in a rich family and get a good education and a beautiful body, but this does not mean that the distresses of life are ultimately eliminated. In the Western countries, it is not unusual for one to take birth in a rich aristocratic family, nor is it unusual for one to have a good education and a very beautiful body. But this does not mean that Westerners are free from the distresses of life. Although at the present moment the younger generation in Western countries has sufficient education, beauty, and wealth, and although there is enough food, clothing, and facilities for sense gratification, they are in distress. Indeed, they are so distressed that they become hippies, and the laws of nature force them to accept a wretched life. Thus they go about unclean and without shelter or food, and they are forced to sleep in the street. It can be concluded that one cannot become happy by simply performing pious activities. It is a fact that those who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth are free from material miseries of birth. It is not a fact that those who are born with a silver spoon in their mouth are free from the material miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. The conclusion is that one cannot be happy by simply executing pious or impious activities. Such activities simply cause entanglement and transmigration from one body to another. Narottam Das Thakur calls this karma bandha pansa. King Prachinabarhisat admitted this fact and frankly asked Narada Muni how he could get out of this karma bandha pansa, entanglement in fruitive activities. This is actually the stage of knowledge indicated in the first verse of Vedanta Sutra, Athato Brahma Jigyasa. When one actually reaches the platform of frustration in an attempt to discharge karma bandha pansa, he inquires about the real value of life, which is called Brahma Jigyasa. In order to inquire about the ultimate goal of life, the Vedas in the Mundaka Upanishad 11.2.12 enjoin Tad Vijnanartam Saguram Eva Bigachet. In order to understand the transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master. King Prachinabarhisat found the best spiritual master, Narada Muni, and he therefore asked him about that knowledge by which one can get out of the entanglement of karma bandha pansa, fruitive activities. This is the actual business of human life. Jivasya tattva jigyasa nartayascheha karmabi, as stated in the second chapter of the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.10. A human being's only business is inquiring from a bona fide spiritual master about extrication from the entanglement of karma bandha pansa. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from text 6 on Friday. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhakti Veda Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Nishingapali Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Jai Princeton Bhakti Vedanta Institute Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai.
जय
निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि
हरि
हरि बोल।
हरि बोल।
जय श्रीमती उमा देवी दासी की जय।
जय गुरुदेव।
हरे
श्रीपाद
कृष्णा।
कृष्ण के प्रभु जी की जय।
धन्यवाद स्थिति।